Everybody, I'm back. It's Raymond Dahlman with the ESA Financial Group, and this is the weekly economic update for March 19th, 2021. Apologize for being out of town last week. It was my anniversary, 25 years, and my wife hasn't killed me yet, so I guess that's something good. So, not a whole lot, a lot of good news, I guess, coming out of the economy. Jobs claims were down. Looks like some of the numbers, the stock market's been doing fairly well over the last couple of weeks. Weather here in Colorado is a little shitty, to say the least. It's still got a little more snow on the horizon, and it's overcast today. So let's go ahead and dive into the what's been going on in my updates, and some of these went out via email last week, but I'm going to go ahead and cover some of the white papers and the updates that I disseminated. So first one up is the quarterly update. First quarter started out kind of rough, but things did kind of level out and are actually doing pretty well. Of the 99% of the companies in the S&P 500 reported, and 79% of those had positive earnings, with just 17 below consensus estimates. So that's pretty good news. What else? The U.S. economy in the first quarter picked up. People are going back to work. As those who choose to get vaccinated are getting vaccinated. I think that's probably relieving some of the stress, although I am seeing a lot of covered faces out there. I'm not sure why, but all right, let's see here. Retail sales have picked up in February. The number of unemployed Americans is still kind of hanging in around 10 million. Jobless claims have improved. I'll touch on that in a little bit. But there is some optimism, which is good. Globally, things in the EU have been kind of hampered by some third waves of lockdowns, and so it appears that it's estimated that the GDP of the EU is going to shrink in the first quarter. A little disappointing, but China fared a little bit better. And then, like I said, it also looks like that the UK is trying to institute some more lockdowns. And I know I've been hearing rumblings out of like Chile and some other places around Canada. Is one I've heard in the news. The citizens up there aren't real happy. Let's see. Looking back and looking forward. Optimism. Let's see. Appears about all the big stuff there. My monthly update that also went out covering for the wrap up for March. Again, stock market's improving. The Dow led the month with a 6.62% gain. The S&P 4.25%, and the Nasdaq was only up about 0.41%. The bond market. I know I've talked quite a bit about this with bond yields being in the news. The month started out pretty good, but yields then did climb again. And once the yields did level off, stocks started to gain some ground. So, with the amount of dollar creation and the stimulus bills, I would imagine that's going to put some pressure on bond yields. So we'll see where things go. Rotation to cyclicals, technology stocks, and high growth stocks were limited. Looks like they're losing some of their steam. I know what I've been doing for my clients. I've actually rotated over to value. Normally, I keep the securities in the blend funds if possible, but with how long this market has gone since I know we did go through a downturn last year, but I don't really feel that we've flushed out all the malinvestment. So I would imagine, moving forward, value will probably do better, assuming that things will, in the stock markets will slow down. The Fed's guidance, they're going to keep interest rates where they're at. That's certainly not good for savers. And let's see, earnings season. It seems like it's always earnings season. Overseas posted a solid March. Major European markets ended higher. And already talked about the Fed over the last couple of weeks. Let's move on to the weekly update for this week. On Wall Street, stocks reached all-time highs again last week. We had some good economic data. The Dow Jones was up 1.18. The S&P 500 was up 1.37, and NASDAQ at 1.09. So NASDAQ came in a little stronger in the last 7 days. And then the MSCI, the international index, was up 1%. So looks like we do have, stocks are rallying on some good earnings numbers. Like I mentioned earlier, looks like most of the big companies in the S&P 500 have been doing fairly well from the first quarter on. Let's see. This week ahead, we have on Thursday jobless claims, existing home sales, and the index of leading economic indicators. Friday, we got new home sales and the PMI composite. We have a host of companies. I'm not going to read all these off with earnings this week. The big ones looks like IBM, Coke, Netflix, J&J, Verizon on Wednesday, Chipotle. Everybody loves a good burrito. AT&T, Intel, and Friday, American Express and Kimberly-Clark. So all in all, it looks like the numbers on paper look pretty good. I do see a lot of businesses that aren't full, or they're not at running at full capacity. So, like I said, that does worry me a little bit. So, moving on to some of the white papers that I've put out over the last 2 weeks. The first one that went out last week was paying for the infrastructure bill. I know if you've been watching any of the financial news or even some of the more national news, I'm sure they've talked about raising taxes, raising the corporate tax from 21%, and I just don't see how that's going to cover the large tab that we've extended ourselves over the last 12 months. Let's see, next one moving up. Let's see, we have the call for a minimum global tax. I know Janet Yellen, the Secretary of the Treasury, has, I've seen her on several interviews talking about this. I'm personally quite opposed to it. I personally feel taxation is theft. And, unless, well, I'm speaking more for the personal income tax here in the States, but, unless you're going to tax everyone the same, it really feels more punitive than anything. But I just don't see the world's nations agreeing to, a global minimum tax to prevent companies from jumping from tax haven to tax haven. There's always going to be nations out there who are going to cater to zero or very low income taxes for whether or not it's businesses or people. So we'll see. Let's see. Next, the whims of Wall Street. Unfortunately, the big players in Wall Street, they do get bailouts. They do have a large effect on how our government is run. And sometimes it might feel that Wall Street is running Main Street. So, nice little article or a white paper that my ghostwriter puts together. So, I'm not going to spend too much time on that one either. Let's see. What forces are driving the housing market? I don't know if you've been paying attention to home prices around the world or around the nation and even in your own backyard, but I still get the emails for homes that are for sale here in the area. I just haven't turned it off since we moved here, and it's kind of interesting to see what the going rate or going prices are for similar homes, and also I'm just kind of curious to see what's on the market at any given time. But the big reasons right now for the why home prices are climbing, it's lack of inventory. We're seeing a large migration of people from place to place. If you don't have to live in a big city anymore and you want to get away from all the crime and whether or not you agree with the politics, people are moving from the inner city out to the suburbs, and from the suburbs out to the middle of nowhere, like where I live. Um, and I mean, right now it is a seller's market. So, I think things will stabilize at some point. We'll see where this country is headed over the next couple of years. But another big reason is just the inflation that we're seeing and the devaluing of the dollar. It's not necessarily that your homes and your gold are gaining value. It's that your dollars are really losing value. So there'll come a time when you'll probably want to just paper your walls with your greenbacks instead of actually using them to pay for stuff. And then the last but not least, green shoots in the economy. Like I mentioned earlier, it appears that earnings are looking pretty good, and there are some positive signs. I wish the news would spend a little more time talking about the good things that are going on in the world as opposed to all the negative. But retail sales rose 9.8% in March. We also had jobless claims come in last week at 576,000, lowest level in over a year. Housing starts are climbing. Again, that could lead to why home prices are going up. When there's more buyers than sellers, that's how the markets work. So again, we do have some good signs. People who want to work are getting back to work in most places. I can't speak for California and some of the more leftist areas that are more locked down, but here in Colorado, it's pretty open. So, all right. Well, the last thing I wanted to talk about is nope, not that. I don't know if I'm sure a lot of you know who Scott Adams is. He's the Dilbert guy, and I listen to him every morning. He has anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. He usually does kind of a synopsis of the big stories that are going on in the world, whether or not it's politics or, politics has unfortunately been the main subject of most of his rants over the last year. But this one, I normally wouldn't, bring in a political subject into this, but I think it's going to affect us on a financial level too. And that really centers around the George Floyd trial for Chauvin. So take a couple seconds here. We're going to listen to Scott talk about this, and then I'll have some of my thoughts. And the reason I'm bringing this up is if there's a lot of riots in some of these big cities, it's going to affect everybody, whether or not it's financially or politically. So really, my best advice is just be prepared. Whether or not you carry a sidearm with you, if you have one, you might want to start bringing it with you if you're going out, especially in the larger cities where I imagine there's going to be some protests and could lead to some violence. And even if you live in, closer to the downtown or inner city areas, you might want to check your ammo supplies and make sure you're prepared because if things get really bad, it's unfortunate. So let's go ahead and take a moment and listen to this.
Yeah, a lot of you are disagreeing. So I think it doesn't matter what a well-trained, highly, let's say, highly capable observer would think, because that's not who's on the jury. So I'll tell you that my view on it did evolve. So on day one, based on what the public knew, I said, I don't see any way he's going to get convicted. Day one. The prosecution, I will say, did a good job. I'm going to say that their experts were good for the prosecution. And I thought the defense was very capable. But if I had to guess, he's going to get convicted of something. I would think that the odds of him not getting convicted of anything are really, really small. But the odds of, I thought there would be manslaughter. But I am a little bit influenced by Greg Jarrett's opinion just because he knows what he's talking about and I don't. So keep an eye on that. Here's some of the things that Greg says. He says the officer's excessive use of force was deliberate. Was it? Do you think that the officer's excessive use of force was deliberate? Because wouldn't that assume that the officer knew what he was doing in terms of what its impact would be? Because I feel like that's the opposite of proven. It seems to me that it's obvious he didn't know, because why would you do it right in front of witnesses? Now, we haven't heard the defense's closing arguments, but I know how this sounds, but I'm going to say it anyway. All right, you know that I'm trained in persuasion, right? So this isn't stupid, what I'm going to say. I feel like I could get him off. I feel like there's enough there that with the world's greatest, I'm not saying I would be the world's greatest, but a really strong defense wrap-up summary, I feel like it could make the difference. Because I think everybody agrees at this point that the facts aren't going to matter to the conclusion, right? The jury is going to think, how do I protect myself? You know, can I possibly let this guy off and go on and live with my life? I'll be attacked and killed. So that's part of it, and that has nothing to do with the facts of the case. And I think that there's enough ambiguity here that you could pretty much make the case. Here's how I would argue it. I would say you're wondering if...
And stop there, gone on for a minute or two. So I'm going to go ahead and link the this YouTube video to the show notes. If you don't listen to this to Mr. Adams on a regular basis, I'd make it part of your daily, news check-in. I try to filter my news through quite a few different sources, just so I don't jump off the fly off the handle with half the story or really thinking it through. And so like I said, I'll go ahead and attach this, and I would listen to it every day. I actually listen to his audio version through my podcast app. Usually at about 1.5 times speed. He talks slow, kind of like me. I can ramble, so I can turn that hour podcast into about 35 or 40 minutes. So, but he makes a good point. I don't think that however this turns out, it's really going to be based on the facts. And when this first went down a year ago, I personally thought, looking at the initial pictures, I was horrified by the officer's actions. Then when you find out the whole story, it's like, well, he puts himself into a really bad position. Did the cop do it? I don't know. What I do know is that the officer is 5'8" and 140 pounds, and to put that into some reference, I'm 5'9", 160, so I'm bigger than him. And George Floyd was like 6'6", 240 pounds. That's a big difference. So, not to say that a small person couldn't kill a larger individual, but there are a lot of extenuating circumstances. So, we'll see. And that's about all the news and stuff going on in the world. Do want to share a few photos from my Hawaii trip. Me and the wife the wife and I went to Maui for a week, and these photos were from the road to Hana. This was a waterfall at an arboretum type place, about halfway there. So same waterfall. This was kind of just this little. There's tons of these as you drive around the island. It's curve after curve after curve because it follows the veins of the mountainside down into the water. Another nice picture, very blue. See some black lava rock, and there was a black sand beach over off to the side. And so again, some nice photos. It was a nice week with the wife. I was unfortunately not. I was a little cranky, and I probably should have been on better behavior. But I get cranky when I'm away from home and sleeping on uncomfortable beds. So no excuse. So, and a couple more photos. This was a little island out here with a palm tree on top. And this were some of the last ones. This was at the very end of the little adventure, little park we went to and walked around. And more hiking than walking. So, and again, if you ever have a chance, it's a pretty cool place. Long flight. If you hate sitting for extended periods of time, may want to take a boat. So, Anyways, all right. Well, I hope everyone has a fantastic week. I'll have a wrap up on Friday. And if anyone needs anything over the next few days, feel free to shoot me an email or send me give me a call. And talk to you then. Have a good one. Bye.